Guadalajara, Mexico, 2025. On a cold March night, Carmen Mendez woke to the sound of a voice drifting up from the living room. The digital clock on her nightstand glowed an eerie 3:33 a.m. Her heart pounded as she pushed back the covers and made her way down the stairs, each step creaking beneath her weight. What she found made her blood run cold. Her son Santiago, barely 4 years old, sat cross-legged in front of the television. The screen was completely dark, yet the boy's eyes were closed, his small hands resting on his knees as if in meditation. And from his lips came words that no child his age should ever know. "And I saw a beast rising out of the sea, with 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads." The voice coming from Santiago was clear, precise, unwavering, nothing like the stumbling speech of a preschooler learning to form sentences. Carmen felt her legs buckle beneath her. "Santiago, my son, what are you saying?" The boy opened his eyes slowly. There was something different in his gaze, something ancient, something that didn't belong in the face of a 4-year-old child. "It's Revelation 13, verse 1, Mommy. They showed it to me last night." Carmen's hands trembled as she knelt before her son. "Who showed it to you?" "The angels. They told me I have to share what's happening. The man with the golden hair who returned to power, he's fulfilling the scriptures. Everything he's doing was already written 2,000 years ago." Carmen knew exactly who her son was referring to. Donald Trump had returned to the presidency of the United States just 2 months earlier, in January 2025, and the entire world was talking about his controversial decisions. But how could a 4-year-old boy possibly make that connection? "Santiago, you can't read. You've only been to church twice in your entire life. How do you know that verse?" The boy looked at her with a seriousness that didn't match his age. "Because they told me, Mommy, and they told me more things that are going to happen very soon, things that were already written in the sacred book." Carmen pulled her son into her arms, feeling his small body trembling against her chest. But it wasn't fear she sensed in Santiago. It was urgency, as if he carried a message the world desperately needed to hear. "Mommy," the boy whispered against her chest, "he's not the bad guy. He's just a piece. All of this is part of the divine plan, and I have to tell people the truth before it's too late." And this was only the beginning of a revelation that would change how millions viewed current events. The next morning, Carmen called her husband Roberto at work. Her voice cracked in a way he had never heard before. "You need to come home. Now. It's urgent." When Roberto arrived, he found Santiago sitting at the dining room table, surrounded by sheets of paper. But what he saw on those pages stole the breath from his lungs. The boy had written, with shaky but legible letters, complete Bible verses in both Spanish and English. "Roberto, our son is 4 years old," Carmen whispered, tears streaming down her face. "He's barely learning to write his own name." Santiago looked up. "Daddy, I need you to listen. This is very important." The gravity in his voice was deeply unsettling. "In Daniel chapter 7, verse 25, it says the little horn will speak words against the Most High and will change times and laws. President Trump is doing exactly that." Roberto felt ice spread through his veins. "How do you know this, son?" "They showed me in dreams. Every night I see things. I see the man with the golden hair signing papers. I see nations dividing. I see people fighting in the streets. And I see that everything is connected to the prophecies." Carmen picked up one of the papers. Santiago had written Revelation 13:5, and the beast was given a mouth, uttering haughty and blasphemous words. Beneath it, in childish but clear handwriting, he had added, "The man speaks a lot on social media. He says big things. People either love him or hate him. There's no middle ground. This is the sign." "My God," Roberto murmured. "Are you saying Trump is the Antichrist?" Santiago shook his head firmly. "No, Daddy. That's what people don't understand. He's not the Antichrist. He's the precursor. He's preparing the way. He's fulfilling prophecies without even knowing he's doing it. He's a piece on God's chessboard." The parents exchanged terrified glances. The most chilling part wasn't what Santiago was saying. It was the absolute clarity with which he said it, as if he truly knew something the rest of the world hadn't yet grasped. And this was merely the beginning of the revelations to come. Carmen knew they needed help, not psychological help, but spiritual guidance. She contacted Father Miguel Torres, a Jesuit priest known throughout Guadalajara for his profound knowledge of theology and biblical prophecy. "Father, my son is saying things he cannot possibly know. I need you to hear him." Father Torres arrived 3 days later. He was a man of 65 with decades of experience in the church. He had seen everything, or so he believed. Nothing had prepared him for Santiago. The boy entered the room where the priest waited. Without greetings, without introductions, Santiago spoke directly. "You don't believe this is real, do you, Father? You think it's a child's fantasy or some trick by his parents?" Father Torres felt a chill crawl down his spine. "I didn't say that, son." "You didn't say it, but you thought it." Santiago sat down across from him. "Let me show you something. Revelation chapter 17, verse 10. You can read it." Father Torres pulled out his Bible and found the passage. "They are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen. 1 is. The other has not yet come. And when he does come, he must remain only a little while." Santiago nodded. "Trump is the 7th. The 5 who fell are the presidents before him who changed the world. Roosevelt, Kennedy, Nixon, Reagan, Clinton. The 6th was Obama. Trump is the 7th, the one who came, left, and returned. And his time will be brief this time." Father Torres went pale. He had never heard this interpretation before, but it had a terrifying logic. "And what comes after?" the priest asked, his voice unsteady. "The 8th. Verse 11 says, 'As for the beast that was and is not, it is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7. Someone will come after Trump who will be worse, much worse. And when that happens, we'll know the end is near.'" Father Torres closed his Bible. His hands were shaking. "Who taught you this, Santiago?" The boy looked at him with eyes that seemed to contain centuries of knowledge. "No one taught me, Father. I just remember. I remember what's coming because it was already written." In that moment, Father Torres knew he was witnessing something that would challenge everything he had learned in his entire life. Father Torres couldn't remain silent. After 3 sessions with Santiago, he decided to contact the Archdiocese of Guadalajara and the Biblical Institute of Mexico. What the child was revealing was too specific, too coherent to be ignored. 1 week later, Santiago sat before a panel of 5 theologians and 2 child psychologists. The entire session was recorded. "Santiago," began Dr. Sofia Ramirez, a specialist in child development, "can you tell us exactly what you believe will happen in the coming months?" The boy closed his eyes for a moment, as if listening to something only he could hear. Then he spoke with absolute clarity. In April, President Trump will sign an agreement with 7 nations from the Middle East. He'll say it's a peace agreement, but it won't be true peace. It will be the fulfillment of Daniel 9, verse 27. And he shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week. The theologians exchanged nervous glances. One of them, Dr. Ernesto Villalobos, a specialist in apocalyptic prophecies, leaned forward. Santiago, how do you know it will be in April specifically? Because they showed me. I saw the date in my dream. April 18th, 2025. I saw the president with 7 leaders signing golden papers, and I saw that after that, something very bad would happen in Israel. Dr. Ramirez tried to maintain her professional skepticism, but the specificity of these claims was deeply unsettling. What else did you see? I saw that 3 months after the signing, in July, there would be an event in Jerusalem, something that would make the whole world talk about war. And I saw that President Trump would say he brought peace, but in reality he had opened a door that cannot be closed. Father Torres, watching from the back of the room, felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He knew that in less than a month, the world would discover whether the words of this 4-year-old boy were true or not. The wait would be unbearable. April 18th, 2025 arrived faster than anyone expected. Carmen had kept a calendar marked in the kitchen, counting down each day with growing anxiety. Father Torres called daily to check for new revelations. That morning, Santiago woke early, walked into his parents' bedroom, and said simply, "Today is the day. Turn on the news." At 10:47 a.m. Mexico time, every news network interrupted their regular programming. President Donald Trump appeared at the White House, surrounded by the leaders of 7 nations: Israel, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, and Jordan. Today, Trump announced with his characteristic confident tone, "We are signing the most important peace agreement of the 21st century. The expanded Abraham Accords will bring prosperity and security to the entire Middle East for the next 7 years." Carmen dropped the remote control. Roberto stood frozen. On the screen, exactly as Santiago had described, 7 leaders were signing documents with golden covers. 7 nations, Carmen whispered. My God, 7 nations. The phone rang. It was Father Torres. His voice was trembling. Are you watching this? Are you seeing what's happening? Santiago sat on the floor watching the television with a serene expression. When his parents looked at him, he simply said, "Now wait for July. What's coming will be worse." In the hours that followed, the video of the press conference went viral. Millions of people around the world celebrated what they called a historic agreement. But in Guadalajara, in a modest home on a quiet street, one family knew something the rest of the world had yet to comprehend. This wasn't the beginning of peace. It was the beginning of something much larger, something that had been prophesied 2,000 years ago. And a 4-year-old boy was the only one who could see the complete pattern. Dr. Villalobos arrived at the house that same afternoon. "We need to document everything," he said with urgency. Santiago just predicted a specific event with an exact date, and it came true. This is impossible. But Santiago only smiled sadly. It's not impossible, Doctor. It's inevitable. Everything is written. It always was. The news of Santiago's fulfilled prediction spread through religious and academic circles like wildfire. Within 48 hours, Father Torres received calls from theologians in Rome, evangelical pastors in Texas, and researchers from universities across Europe. Dr. Marcus Webb, a professor of religious studies at Oxford, who had spent 30 years debunking claims of modern prophecy, flew to Guadalajara 3 days after the signing ceremony. He arrived as a skeptic. He left as something else entirely. "I've interviewed hundreds of people claiming prophetic gifts," Dr. Webb told the panel of theologians after meeting Santiago. "Every single one showed signs of suggestion, manipulation, or delusion. This child shows none of those markers. His knowledge of scriptural context, his ability to connect ancient texts to contemporary events, it defies every psychological model we have." But the most striking reaction came from those who had publicly mocked the story. A prominent atheist blogger who had written a viral post titled "Mexican Parents Exploit Child for Religious Hoax" posted a single sentence the day after the signing: "I don't know what I believe anymore." Social media became a battleground. The hashtag Santiago prophecy trended globally. Some called him the voice of God. Others demanded Child Protective Services investigate his parents. Religious leaders from every denomination weighed in, some embracing him as a sign of the times, others warning their congregations against false prophets. Through it all, Santiago remained calm. When reporters camped outside his home, he simply drew pictures in his room. When his parents asked if the attention bothered him, he shook his head. "They're supposed to argue," he said. "That's part of it too. The truth always divides before it unites." Over the following 2 months, Santiago grew quieter. He drew constantly, images of temples, of fire, of enraged crowds. Carmen saved every drawing, sensing they were pieces of a terrible puzzle. Father Torres organized weekly meetings with theologians from across Latin America. News of Santiago's fulfilled prediction had spread through religious circles. Some called him a prophet. Others, more cautiously, simply called him the boy who knew. "What else do you see, Santiago?" Dr. Villalobos asked during each session. The boy would close his eyes. "I see the Temple Mount. I see a man in uniform entering where he shouldn't enter. I see the Muslim world becoming enraged. And I see the United States saying they support it. All of this in July." "What day in July?" the doctor pressed. "They didn't show me the exact day. I only know it will be after the 15th, but before the 25th. And when it happens, there will be no turning back." One evening, Carmen found Santiago sitting alone in the backyard, staring at the stars. She sat beside him without speaking. "Mommy," he finally said, "do you know why they chose me?" "No, my love. I've wondered every day since this started. Because I don't have opinions yet. Adults already decided what they think about God, about presidents, about everything. Their minds are like rooms with all the furniture already placed. But my mind is empty, clean, so the messages come through without getting changed." Carmen felt tears forming. "Does it hurt, carrying all this?" Santiago considered the question with a seriousness no child should possess. "Sometimes, when I see the bad things that are coming, but they also showed me what comes after all the pain. And it's beautiful, Mommy. So beautiful that it makes the pain worth it." "What did you see?" "I can't tell you yet. It's not time. But when you see it, when everyone sees it, you'll understand why all of this had to happen." July 19th, 2025. At 6:32 a.m. Jerusalem time, an event shook the world. Israel's Minister of National Security, accompanied by a group of religious extremists, entered the Temple Mount, the third holiest site in Islam. The images spread instantaneously. Riots erupted in Jerusalem, Gaza, the West Bank, and in Arab capitals around the globe. 3 hours later, President Trump issued a statement supporting Israel's right to access its sacred sites. Carmen's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Journalists, researchers, curious seekers, everyone wanted to speak with Santiago. But the boy was in his room, crying. "Why are you crying, my love?" Carmen asked, holding him close. "Because I saw what comes next, Mommy. I saw the war. I saw the suffering. And even though I know it's part of the plan, it hurts to know that people won't listen. It hurts to know that all of this could be stopped if they would only believe." Roberto entered with the phone. "It's CNN en Español. They want an interview." Carmen looked at her husband, then at her son. Santiago nodded slowly. "It's okay, Mommy. It's time for the world to know. The truth can't be hidden anymore." The days following the Temple Mount incident brought chaos unlike anything the region had seen in decades. Protests erupted in Jakarta, Istanbul, Cairo, and London. The United Nations called emergency sessions. Military forces mobilized across the Middle East. And in the midst of this global turmoil, the world's attention turned to a small house in Guadalajara, Mexico. Father Torres worked with the family to manage the overwhelming demand for access to Santiago. They established a protocol: no interviews without psychological evaluation, no recordings without parental consent, no questions designed to manipulate or lead the child. "We have to protect him," Father Torres insisted during a meeting with Carmen and Roberto. "There are people who want to use him. Politicians, religious leaders, media companies. They see him as a tool, not as a child." But Santiago, overhearing from the hallway, walked into the room. "Father, I'm not afraid of being used. I'm afraid of staying silent when I'm supposed to speak. The message doesn't belong to me. It belongs to everyone. And if some people try to twist it, that's their burden, not mine." The priest stared at the boy, once again struck by the impossible wisdom in his words. The interview was scheduled for July 28th at the CNN en Español offices in Mexico City. Carmen, Roberto, and Father Torres accompanied Santiago. The boy wore a simple white shirt and black pants. He looked smaller than ever sitting on the studio sofa. Journalist Adriana Mendez, a professional with 20 years of experience, later admitted that this was the most unsettling interview of her entire career. "Santiago, many people say you predicted the peace agreement of April 18th. Is that true?" The boy nodded. "Yes, ma'am, but I didn't predict it. I only said what they showed me, what was already written in the Bible." "And who showed you that?" "God's angels. They come in my dreams and teach me things. They show me that everything happening now was prophesied many, many years ago." Adriana leaned forward. "And what else have they shown you?" Santiago closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, there were tears. "They showed me that a great war is coming. Not now, but soon. They showed me that President Trump believes he's doing something good, but without knowing it, he's opening the doors of the apocalypse. And they showed me that after him, someone worse will come." "Who will come after him?" "They didn't tell me the name. They only told me it will be someone the people will love at first, someone who will promise true peace. But in reality, he will be the one who brings the end." The broadcast reached 3 million live viewers. Social media exploded. Some called Santiago a modern prophet. Others accused him of being manipulated by his parents or by extremist religious groups. But something no one could deny was the absolute seriousness in the eyes of that 4-year-old boy. There was no doubt, no hesitation, only a chilling certainty. At the end of the interview, Adriana asked one final question. "What do you want people to do with this information?" Santiago looked at her directly. "Read the Bible. Prepare yourself spiritually. And don't be afraid, because all of this has to happen so that something better can come. Pain comes before birth, and the world is about to give birth to something new." After the televised interview, the Vatican issued a statement, not directly about Santiago, but the Pope released an unusual communiqué. In these times of confusion, let us remember that the ways of the Lord are mysterious, and that true prophecy always calls for conversion, not fear. The response from American evangelical churches was immediate and divided. Pastor Robert Hammond of the megachurch Faith Rising in Houston devoted an entire Sunday sermon to Santiago, calling him a vessel of divine truth in an age of deception. The sermon was viewed 18 million times online. But others were not convinced. Reverend Thomas Blake, a prominent televangelist, warned his followers against foreign false prophets and called Santiago's claims demonic deception designed to undermine American leadership. The academic world proved equally divided. Dr. Sarah Chen, a professor of comparative religion at Yale, published an analysis noting the unprecedented nature of Santiago's case. In the history of recorded prophecy claims, she wrote, "We have never seen a subject this young demonstrate this level of scriptural knowledge combined with specific, verifiable predictions. Whether one believes in divine inspiration or not, the psychological and linguistic phenomena at work here demand serious study." Meanwhile, Dr. Richard Hartley, a vocal skeptic and author of The Delusion of Prophecy, appeared on multiple news programs, insisting that Santiago was the victim of elaborate coaching. Children are impressionable, he argued. With enough repetition and reinforcement, they can be made to believe and repeat almost anything. But when pressed to explain how a 4-year-old could predict a specific date and event that even political analysts had not anticipated, Dr. Hartley had no answer. Dr. Villalobos and a team of 5 theologians worked for weeks analyzing every statement Santiago had made. What they discovered left them speechless. "Look at this," the doctor said during a meeting with the boy's parents. He spread a complex diagram across the table. Santiago has mentioned 7 specific biblical passages. When we connect them chronologically with current world events, they form a perfect pattern. He pointed to the diagram. Daniel 9:27 connected to the April Agreement. Revelation 13:5 related to Trump's communication style. Daniel 7:25 spoke of changing times and laws, something Trump had done with various executive orders. Revelation 17:10 described the sequence of world leaders. But here's the most disturbing part, Dr. Villalobos continued. Santiago mentioned something none of us caught at the time. He said Trump is the 7th who came, left, and returned. That's exactly what happened. He was president from 2017 to 2021, lost in 2021, and returned in 2025. Carmen felt a chill run through her. What does that mean? It means Santiago isn't just quoting scripture. He's interpreting it in a way that connects perfectly with current reality. And there's more. The doctor pulled out another document. Revelation 17:11 says, "As for the beast that was and is not, it is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7, and it goes to destruction." What does that mean? Roberto asked. That whoever comes after Trump will be someone who was already in power before, someone who will return. And according to the prophecy, that person will be the true danger. Santiago, who had been playing quietly in the corner of the room, looked up. His name starts with O, and people will think he's the savior. But he won't be. The adults froze. "Oh," Father Torres whispered. "Obama." Santiago shook his head. "They didn't let me see more, only the first letter, and that when he returns, the final time will begin." October 2025. 3 months after the interview, Santiago woke one night screaming. Carmen and Roberto rushed to his room. The boy sat in his bed trembling, his eyes wide open, but seeing somewhere else entirely.
I saw it, Mommy. I saw everything.
What did you see, my love?
I saw the end of Trump's term. I saw that in 2028 there will be elections, but something happens before that. Something in 2027 that changes everything. An event in the sky that the whole earth will see. And after that, people will start to believe.
Father Torres was called immediately. He arrived with Dr. Villalobos. Santiago told them the complete vision.
In August 2027, a sign will appear in the sky. It's not an eclipse. It's not a comet. It's something science won't be able to explain. And when that happens, millions of people will convert. But millions more will turn further away from God.
What kind of sign? Dr. Villalobos asked.
A cross of light, visible from everywhere in the world for 3 days. And in those 3 days, every person will have to choose faith or fear.
Father Torres opened his Bible to Matthew 24:30. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. Santiago's voice dropped to barely a whisper.
I saw cities going dark, not from the sign, from people. Some will fall to their knees in the streets. Others will riot, saying it's a government trick, a hologram, a weapon. Families will divide. Friends will become enemies. The sign won't bring peace at first. It will bring the final test. After that, Santiago continued, Trump will finish his term, and the one who comes next will say that he caused the sign, that he is special, and people will believe him. That will be the great deception.
Carmen wept.
Why do they show this to you? Why to a child?
Santiago looked at her with tenderness.
Because adults have already decided what to believe. Their minds are closed. But I'm small. My heart is still open. And God uses the small to confound the great. That's in the Bible too.
Dr. Villalobos took notes frantically.
Santiago, is there anything we can do? Anything we can change?
The boy shook his head sadly.
You can't change what's already written. You can only choose which side to be on when it all begins. And it's already begun. The day Trump returned to power, the seal was opened. There's no going back now.
December 2025. Santiago turned 5 years old. The visions became less frequent, but his message had already been delivered. Dozens of theologians around the world studied his words. Millions of people followed his story online. Books were being written about the prophet child of Guadalajara. But the most extraordinary development came 1 month earlier. A group of NASA scientists had discreetly contacted Dr. Villalobos. They had detected an electromagnetic anomaly projected to appear in Earth's atmosphere in August 2027. Something never seen before. Something that could create luminous phenomena visible from the entire planet. The exact date Santiago had mentioned. When Dr. Villalobos shared this information with Father Torres, the priest sat in silence for a long time. "Do you understand what this means?" the doctor finally asked. "I understand that we are living in times that generations before us only read about in Scripture," Father Torres replied. "And I understand that a child, a simple, innocent child, was chosen to prepare us." "But prepare us for what exactly?" Father Torres looked out the window at the ordinary street, the ordinary cars, the ordinary people going about their ordinary lives. For the moment when ordinary ends. For the moment when everyone will have to answer the question they've been avoiding their whole lives. What do I truly believe? Father Torres organized one final public meeting with Santiago. this time at the Cathedral of Guadalajara before 2,000 people. The boy climbed to the pulpit, so small he could barely be seen above it. "I came to tell you something important," he began, his voice childlike but clear. "Many people ask if President Trump is bad. He's not bad. He's just a piece, like we're all pieces. God moves the board, and we play our roles. What's happening in the world isn't the end, it's the beginning of the end. And that's different." He paused, his young eyes scanning the crowd. "There's still time. Time to change your heart. Time to choose love over fear. When you see the sign in the sky in 2027, don't be afraid. It's an invitation, a final call before the doors close. And every person will have to decide for themselves." Tears streamed down the faces of hundreds in the cathedral. "I've delivered my message now. My work is done. The visions will leave me. I'll just be a normal boy again. But you will remember. And when the things I said start to happen, you'll know that God gave you warning, that He gave you time." Santiago stepped down from the pulpit and ran into his mother's arms. Carmen held him tight, crying with a mixture of relief and sorrow. Father Torres approached them quietly. "What happens now?" he asked. Santiago looked up at him with eyes that, for the first time in months, looked simply like a child's eyes. "Now, I get to be 5. I get to play and learn and grow up. The angels told me my job is finished. The rest is up to everyone else." Today, Santiago lives a quiet life. He no longer has visions. He no longer recites impossible scriptures. He's just a boy, playing soccer with friends, struggling with arithmetic, laughing at cartoons. But in his room, kept in a special box his father built, are all the prophecies he wrote, all the dates, all the events. Carmen checks the box sometimes, running her fingers over the childish handwriting that contained such impossible knowledge. The world has moved on, as the world always does. The April Agreement is now called the New Abraham Accords. The July incident is studied in political science courses. Santiago's interview has been viewed over 200 million times, though most dismiss it as an elaborate hoax or an unexplained anomaly. Dr. Villalobos continues his research, quietly monitoring the electromagnetic readings that NASA shared with him. Father Torres prays daily for the boy who changed his understanding of faith. Dr. Webb returned to Oxford and wrote a book titled The Guadalajara Question that has sold 3 million copies. And somewhere in the corridors of power, in the halls of scientific institutions, in the quiet moments before sleep, people wonder. They wonder if a 4-year-old boy truly saw what he claimed to see. They wonder if the events unfolding in the world are random chaos or ancient pattern. They wonder what August 2027 will bring. Santiago doesn't wonder. He knows. But he also knows that knowing isn't the point. The point is choosing. Choosing what to do with the time that remains. Choosing who to become before the sign appears. In August 2027, the world will discover whether the words of a 4-year-old boy were true, whether God truly chose the smallest vessel to deliver the greatest message, whether the actions of world leaders today are, in fact, the fulfillment of prophecies written 2,000 years ago. Because sometimes the greatest truth arrives in the smallest package. And sometimes a child must speak because the adults have forgotten how to listen. This was one of those impossible cases, where innocence became the perfect channel for a message the world desperately needed to hear. The clock is ticking, the prophecies are written, and the choice, as it always was, belongs to each of us.